2 weeks into the year, and most people are already back to their old habits. Transformation begins where tolerance ends. Every weakness you justify, every distraction you entertain, every indulgence you excuse, these are the quiet weights keeping you ordinary. So let me ask you, what are you still holding on to that you know is holding you back? Scrolling instead of building, comfort instead of discipline, promises instead of action. Most people don't fail because they lack potential. They fail because they refuse to remove what's poisoning it, and it burns, doesn't it? That feeling that you were meant for more, yet you keep settling for less. You tell yourself tomorrow will be different, next week will be better, but it won't be. Not unless you decide today to cut what's making you weak. The Stoics understood this truth clearly. Strength is not about what you add to your life. It's about what you're willing to remove. Distractions, bad habits, excuses, fear. These don't just waste your time. They steal your clarity, your discipline, and your future. So are you ready to face the uncomfortable truth? Are you ready to cut what's unnecessary so you can build what's unstoppable? If you're committed to real growth, real discipline, and real transformation, consider subscribing. This channel isn't about motivation, it's about action. Let's begin. Cut the indulgence of instant gratification. We live in a world that constantly pulls us toward instant gratification. It's everywhere. The notifications, the endless scrolling, the constant dopamine hits. There's nothing wrong with enjoying life and indulging in moments of pleasure, but when those moments become a habit, when every decision is driven by the need for immediate satisfaction, something begins to shift within us. The more we chase after the quick fixes, the more we lose the ability to endure. We stop building our capacity for resilience, for discomfort, for focus. Every time we choose relief over mastery, we weaken our willpower bit by bit, and it becomes easier to fall into the trap of short-term pleasure. It's a cycle that keeps us from growth. We tell ourselves, just one more episode, or just a little longer. But what we don't see is how those little indulgences chip away at our strength, our discipline, and our ability to focus on the things that really matter. It might feel harmless in the moment, taking that break, getting lost in your phone, or giving in to the urge to binge watch. But what you're doing is conditioning your mind to collapse under pressure instead of rising above it. The more you give in, the more you train yourself to react to impulses instead of acting with intention. Your mind, your body, your entire being starts to default to comfort. You begin to lose the muscle of discipline. You no longer choose what's best for you. You start reacting to what's easiest. And that's when things begin to unravel. Your focus weakens, your clarity fades, and you lose sight of the bigger picture. The more you let go of your control over these small pleasures, the more you hand over your power, and the cost becomes higher with each indulgence. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This applies to every aspect of our lives, especially when it comes to our relationship with instant gratification. To master yourself is to refuse the pull of distractions, to choose the difficult path of self-control even when it's hard. The disciplined person doesn't seek instant pleasure. They understand that true fulfillment comes from enduring discomfort and focusing on what will bring lasting growth. Pleasure, in moderation, can strengthen life, but when it controls us, it weakens us. Pleasure isn't the enemy, it's the loss of control that we must be wary of. Imagine for a moment, how different would your life be if you stopped seeking constant distractions and started building real focus? What if, instead of the fleeting satisfaction of scrolling through social media, you invested that time in something that would nourish your mind, your body, or your goals. The truth is, by cutting these indulgences, you reclaim your ability to focus, to find clarity, and to act with intention. What you gain in return is far more valuable than any momentary pleasure. The clarity you seek comes when you stop seeking comfort. The energy you need to pursue your goals reappears when you stop draining it on distractions. It's not about denying yourself pleasure. It's about gaining control over it, so it doesn't control you. The moment you choose mastery over comfort, you free yourself to create, to grow, and to live with purpose. We all know what it's like to give in to temptation, but what happens when we make the choice not to? It's not easy at first. It requires discipline, but it also requires something else, a shift in perspective. When we stop measuring our lives by how much pleasure we can experience and start measuring it by how much progress we can make, we change the game. The rewards that come from self-control, from delayed gratification, are infinitely more satisfying. When you control your impulses, you regain your power. You choose the path of growth over the path of least resistance. The question isn't whether you can have pleasure, it's whether you're willing to give it up for something better. The Stoics understood this principle well. True freedom comes from self-mastery, not from giving in to every urge. It's time to reclaim that power. Cut the indulgence of instant gratification and watch your life transform into something far more powerful. The shift isn't instant, but it's worth it. As you begin cutting out the distractions and indulging less, you'll feel the pull of the old habits. You'll be tempted to go back to what's easy. But keep in mind, every time you resist, you strengthen the muscle of discipline. You'll start to notice the subtle changes, the clearer thoughts, the sharper focus, the stronger resolve. Over time, you'll build a life that's not controlled by the next quick hit of pleasure, but by your own intentional choices. It's a life where your actions align with your deepest values, and your focus sharpens with each decision you make. It's the path that leads to true freedom. Freedom from distractions, freedom from instant gratification, and freedom to live with purpose. When you begin to cut the indulgences that weaken you, you stop being a passive participant in your own life. You take back the reins. It's not about denying yourself the simple pleasures in life. It's about choosing when and how to experience them. The ability to endure, to delay gratification, to choose discipline over comfort, that's where your strength lies. The more you practice this, the more resilient you become. The more you build it into your daily life, the stronger your foundation becomes. And that, my friend, is where true growth happens. So, what will you cut out of your life today? What indulgences have you been holding onto that no longer serve you? This is your invitation to make the change, to choose focus over distractions, self-control over indulgence, and progress over temporary pleasure. Start today and take back the control that's rightfully yours. It's time to stop reacting and start acting with intention. Cut the noise. Think about how much of your day is consumed by distractions. Endless notifications, scrolling through feeds. You might not even realize it, but it's draining you. It's not just a waste of time, it's a theft of attention. The constant pull from every digital corner keeps you from being fully present. You feel the need to check your phone constantly, respond to messages, and keep up with what everyone else is doing. But here's the reality. You don't need to keep up with anyone else's highlight reel. Their lives, their successes, their opinions, they're not your responsibility. Yet we let the digital world dictate our time, our energy, and even our peace of mind. And in the process, we lose focus on what truly matters. It's easy to get sucked in, right? The notifications are relentless. Each one feels important. But when you react to each ping, each beep, you're scattering your focus. You're giving your attention away piece by piece without realizing the cost. The constant buzz of the digital world is like 1,000 tiny threads pulling at your mind, preventing you from concentrating on what's truly important. It creates a fragmented mind, one that can't hold a thought long enough to explore it deeply. Your ability to focus and think critically begins to fade. You find yourself reacting, not thinking, not choosing, but just going along with the digital flow. But the truth is, the modern mind wasn't made for this. We weren't designed to handle constant input and shallow connections. We were designed for depth, for concentration, for clarity. When was the last time you sat in silence, completely alone with your thoughts? When you cut out the digital noise, you begin to hear your own thoughts again. It's like your mind has been cluttered with endless static, and when you remove that static, the silence becomes a space of clarity. It's uncomfortable at first. It feels like something's missing, like you're supposed to be doing something else. But when you embrace that discomfort, when you allow yourself to sit with silence, something powerful happens. You start to hear your own voice. Your thoughts become clearer, your decisions become sharper, and you start to reconnect with the deeper parts of yourself that the constant noise drowned out. But how can you even begin to know who you truly are when you're constantly distracted? Digital noise pulls us in so many directions that we forget to listen to ourselves. We lose touch with our own desires, our own thoughts, and our own purpose. Cutting the noise isn't just about turning off notifications. It's about making the space to truly hear yourself, to listen to the voice inside that's been drowned out by the flood of external input. When you disconnect from the constant digital hum, you create the space to focus on what truly matters. You can finally prioritize your goals, your values, and your passions over the meaningless distractions that take up so much of your time. And let's be clear, this isn't about rejecting technology altogether. It's about setting boundaries. It's about reclaiming your attention and using it intentionally instead of letting it be hijacked by every notification, every message, and every feed. There's a quote by Seneca that perfectly captures this. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. We spend so much time worrying about what we might miss, what we might not see, or what others are doing, that we forget to live in the present moment. We imagine the worst-case scenarios, the fear of missing out, the anxiety of being disconnected from the digital world. But most of that suffering is in our minds, not in our reality. The constant need to check, to stay up to date, to react to everything, none of it is necessary. It's just noise, a distraction from what truly matters. Cutting the digital noise isn't just about creating space. It's about clearing out the mental clutter that prevents you from being truly present. Imagine if you spent the time you usually spend scrolling or checking your phone on something that actually moves you closer to your goals. What if you used that time to think, to create, to reflect, or to connect with the people around you in a more meaningful way? It's not about cutting out technology entirely, but about using it wisely. When you remove the unnecessary noise, you can focus on what truly serves you, what brings you closer to the life you want to create. The benefits of cutting the noise are profound. You start to feel more in control, more at ease, and more connected to your own thoughts and feelings. The overwhelm starts to subside, and in its place, clarity emerges. Your mind isn't constantly pulled in different directions. It's centered, focused, and ready to tackle what's important. The distractions no longer feel so tempting because you've cultivated a sense of purpose and intention that brings a deeper satisfaction than any temporary fix. Now, don't get me wrong, disconnecting isn't easy. We're so conditioned to check our phones, to scroll, to react, that it feels like a part of us is missing when we stop. But that's just the initial discomfort. Over time, you'll begin to see the power of your own thoughts, the strength of your own decisions, and the clarity that comes with a quiet mind. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. You begin to reclaim your attention, your energy, and your focus. You learn to live with intention instead of reaction. And when you're truly in control of your attention, you're in control of your life. So, how much longer will you let digital noise dictate your thoughts, your time, and your life? How much longer will you allow the constant pull of notifications and distractions to keep you from the deeper things that truly matter? It's time to take back your attention. It's time to clear out the noise. Only then will you be able to listen to your own thoughts, to focus on what's important, and to move through life with purpose and clarity. In a world that demands your attention at every turn, cutting the noise is a radical act of self-discipline. It's about choosing to be present with yourself, to prioritize your goals and your values, and to stop letting the distractions of the world pull you away from what truly matters. The silence, once uncomfortable, will become your ally. It's in that silence that you'll discover who you really are and what you're truly capable of. Cut the people who drain you. We've all been there. You step into a room, join a conversation, or spend time with a person, and by the time you leave, you're drained. It's not because you've physically exhausted yourself, but because your energy has been siphoned away. You feel it, don't you? That slow drain that chips away at your clarity, your focus, your spirit. It's subtle at first, easy to overlook, but over time, it begins to weigh on you, leaving you feeling smaller and more depleted. And the worst part is, you can't always pinpoint why. Sometimes, it's the negativity. Maybe it's someone who's always complaining, always seeing the glass half empty, or someone who just doesn't bring anything meaningful into your life. It doesn't take long before you realize the energy you're investing in them could be better used elsewhere. And that's when you need to face the truth. It's time to cut ties with those who drain you. The people who keep you around but don't challenge you to grow are the ones you need to distance yourself from. It's not personal. It's necessary. We often tell ourselves we need to keep these people around, that we need to be supportive, that we have to help them. But at what cost? When you consistently surround yourself with people who don't inspire you, who don't encourage you to be better, you start to mirror their stagnation. You start to settle for the same old patterns, the same old habits. You stop striving for more, and that, in itself, becomes its own form of weakness. You begin to shrink in the presence of people who won't help you rise. The people who complain, gossip, or stay stuck in their own patterns. These are the ones you need to leave behind. It's not about cutting people off just for the sake of it. It's about protecting your energy, your focus, and your purpose. Think about it. How many times have you walked away from a conversation feeling like you've just wasted an hour of your life? How often have you been with someone who made you feel small or less than you are? Those moments take their toll, whether you recognize it in the moment or not. The Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." But here's the thing. People who drain you don't challenge you. They create friction, yes, but not the kind that sharpens you. They weaken you. They dull your edges and keep you stuck. It's time to break free from that cycle. The moment you start distancing yourself from these energy-draining relationships, you'll begin to notice a shift. Suddenly, you'll have more energy, more clarity, and a renewed sense of purpose. It's like lifting a heavy weight off your shoulders that you didn't even know you were carrying. And here's something even more powerful. You don't need a massive social circle to thrive. You don't need to be surrounded by dozens of people. What you need is a small, tight-knit circle of individuals who demand greatness, both from themselves and from you. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. Surround yourself with people who push you, inspire you, and challenge you to be better. When you invest in relationships that are built on mutual respect, growth, and ambition, you begin to see a different kind of energy enter your life. This is the kind of energy that lifts you up, propels you forward, and helps you stay focused on what truly matters. You start to feel your own power again. You start to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You begin to realize that you've been holding yourself back by clinging to relationships that were draining you. By letting go of those who pull you down, you make room for those who lift you up. But let's be real. Cutting ties with people who drain you isn't always easy. It can feel uncomfortable, especially if you've known these people for a long time, or if you feel obligated to be there for them. It might even feel like you're being harsh or unkind. But remember, it's not about being cruel. It's about preserving your own well-being. If you continue to surround yourself with negativity or stagnation, you're doing yourself a disservice. The best way to be there for someone else is by first being strong enough to stand in your own power. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is to step back and create space for yourself. Cutting people off isn't about abandoning anyone. It's about choosing to put yourself first for once. It's about acknowledging that your time, your energy, and your focus are valuable. You don't have to explain your decision to anyone, and you certainly don't need anyone's approval to do what's best for you. If someone's presence in your life doesn't elevate you, then it's time to let them go. It doesn't mean you have to be rude or hostile. You simply have to set boundaries and protect your space. This is your life, and you deserve to surround yourself with people who encourage you to grow, who challenge you, and who bring out the best in you. When you cut out the people who drain you, you make room for those who fuel you. You make room for the relationships that inspire you to push forward, the ones that make you better, not smaller. You create an environment in which you can thrive. You'll find yourself stepping into your own strength, your own clarity, and your own purpose. And the people who belong in your life will recognize that growth in you. They'll see the energy, the focus, and the passion that you're bringing to the table. Those are the people who will stand by your side, cheer you on, and support you as you climb higher. So, take a look at the relationships in your life right now. Which ones are lifting you up, and which ones are pulling you down? Don't be afraid to distance yourself from those who drain your energy. Don't feel guilty about creating space for the relationships that matter. It's not about being harsh. It's about being honest with yourself about what you need. Let go of the ones who hold you back and make room for those who help you rise. When you surround yourself with the right people, you'll be amazed at the energy, the clarity, and the focus that will flow back into your life. And in that space, you'll find the strength to become the person you've always been capable of being. Cut the excuses. You know exactly what you're capable of. Deep down, you understand your potential, even if you've been hiding from it for far too long. Yet, day after day, you find yourself making excuses. I'll start tomorrow, you tell yourself, hoping that somehow tomorrow will be easier. Or maybe it's, I'm too tired, as if the fatigue will magically disappear with another day of putting things off. You convince yourself that, I don't have the right circumstances to make progress, as if the perfect moment will come if you wait long enough. But here's the truth. Those excuses aren't just words. They're chains. They bind you to where you are right now, keeping you stuck in a cycle of comfort and stagnation. Each excuse you make is just another way to avoid the discomfort that growth demands. Every time you choose to stay in your comfort zone, you're protecting your current identity, even when that identity is holding you back. You're afraid to step into the unknown, to challenge yourself, because that requires effort. It requires change. It requires facing the discomfort that comes with breaking old habits and forming new ones. But think about it. Your future self isn't going to be impressed by all the reasons you couldn't take action. Your future self won't care about the delays or the reasons why you thought today wasn't the right time. The truth is, time isn't waiting for you to get it together. The moment you stop hesitating, the moment you cut the excuses, that's when real progress starts to happen. You can't become the person you're meant to be if you keep hiding behind excuses. Excuses act as a shield, protecting you from the hard work of growth. They make you feel safe, but at what cost? You can keep telling yourself that you'll start when everything aligns perfectly, but that moment will never come. There will always be something else to put in the way, whether it's tiredness, fear, or a lack of resources. But growth doesn't come when everything is perfectly lined up. It comes when you make the decision to take the first step, even when it's hard, even when you don't have all the answers. The only thing standing between you and your potential is the excuses you keep making. What if, instead of waiting for everything to be perfect, you started acting now? What if you stopped waiting for the right moment and simply moved forward, even if the road ahead isn't clear? It's not about having everything figured out. It's about taking that first step, even when you don't know exactly where it leads. The longer you let excuses control you, the longer you stay trapped in the same patterns. It's not about needing more time. What you need is less hesitation. You need to stop making excuses that keep you stuck and start making decisions that move you forward. Excuses protect the version of yourself that you're used to, the one that stays in the same place year after year, with the same goals and the same frustrations. But you're not meant to stay there. You're meant to grow, to evolve, to step into your full potential. It's scary, yes. It's uncomfortable, absolutely. But that's where the real change happens. The person who makes excuses will always remain the same, but the person who steps beyond their fears, beyond their reasons for why they can't, they are the ones who will see real transformation. So, ask yourself, what's more painful, facing the discomfort of growth or continuing to make excuses that keep you stuck? The discomfort of growth is temporary, but the consequences of inaction last a lifetime. It's time to let go of the reasons that have been holding you back. It's time to cut the excuses that have been keeping you from becoming who you're meant to be. Yes, the journey will be tough. Yes, there will be moments of self-doubt, moments when you question if it's worth it. But in those moments, remember that every step you take, every action you make, is a step toward the life you want. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment to start. It's about making the moment perfect by starting now. This isn't a call to perfection. It's a call to action. You don't need to have everything figured out before you start. In fact, you never will. The key to success is learning as you go, taking imperfect action, and cutting through the excuses that stand in your way. The longer you wait, the longer you stay stuck. But the moment you stop hesitating and take that first step, that's when you begin to change. That's when you begin to move toward the life you've always dreamed of. It's time to stop lying to yourself. The excuses you've been making aren't serving you. They're keeping you trapped in a life that isn't fulfilling, that isn't pushing you to grow. But it's not too late to change. Every moment you delay is a moment you'll never get back. Every excuse is another step backward. The choice is yours. You can continue down the path of excuses, or you can step into the discomfort of growth and see just how far you can go. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." The more you waste time on excuses, the more you rob yourself of the opportunity to live the life you're capable of. Time doesn't wait for anyone, and neither should you. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions to start. The time is now. Stop making excuses. Start taking action. And when you do, you'll look back and realize that the hardest part wasn't the work. It was cutting away the excuses that kept you from starting in the first place. Your future self is waiting for you to take that first step. They're waiting for you to stop making excuses and start making progress. So, ask yourself, who do you want to be? The person who waits for the perfect moment, or the person who makes the moment perfect by starting right now? The decision is yours. The excuses you've been holding on to are just that, excuses. They're not truths, they're barriers you've built around yourself. But those barriers can come down. They can be cut away. And when they are, you'll find the strength, the focus, and the clarity you've been searching for all along. Now is the time. Cut the excuses. Take the first step. Your future self will thank you for it. Cut the need for perfection. Perfection is a myth. It's a lie we've been sold over and over again, a fantasy we chase, thinking that it's the key to success, happiness, and fulfillment. We convince ourselves that if we just do one more thing, make one more adjustment, or wait for the right moment, then everything will be perfect. But the reality is far simpler and far more liberating. You'll never be perfect. And guess what? That's completely okay. Perfection isn't the goal. Progress is. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that perfection is something you can attain if only you work hard enough or plan meticulously enough. But here's the thing. Perfection creates hesitation. It's the reason you put off starting that project, sending that email, or taking that leap of faith. It's because you're too busy trying to make sure everything is flawless. You get stuck in the loop of endless planning and second-guessing, convinced that once you get everything just right, you'll be ready to move forward. But here's the hard truth. By the time everything feels perfect, you've wasted precious time. The window of opportunity has passed, and all you have to show for it is a growing list of reasons why it wasn't the right time after all. The longer you wait for perfection, the longer you delay your growth. You stall, you hesitate, and you miss the chance to move forward. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But how can you ever become who you're meant to be if you're always waiting for the perfect moment to start? You can't. Perfectionism keeps you in a perpetual state of waiting, and while you wait, life passes you by. The truth is, the perfect moment will never come. The perfect plan will never exist. So why keep waiting? What you really need is action. Action is the antidote to perfectionism. The more you wait, the more you allow fear and self-doubt to hold you back. The more you tell yourself that you're not ready, the more you reinforce the belief that you need to be perfect before you can even try. But that's not how growth works. Growth happens when you take the first step, even when you don't have it all figured out. Every imperfect step you take brings you closer to the person you want to be. Every mistake, every misstep, every setback, these are all part of the journey. They're not signs of failure, they're proof that you're moving forward. Perfection is the enemy of progress. When you demand perfection from yourself, you stop yourself from trying, from learning, and from growing. You paralyze yourself with the fear of making mistakes. But here's the thing, mistakes are where the lessons lie. When you accept that you're not going to get everything right, you free yourself to take action. And it's through those actions, those imperfect steps, that you will improve, learn, and ultimately succeed. Perfection isn't what gets you to your destination. Consistent progress does. I want you to think about the last time you didn't take action because you were waiting for the perfect moment. How many opportunities did you miss because you were stuck in the trap of, "I'll do it when everything's just right"? Maybe it was a new project, a new goal, or a new relationship. Whatever it was, Perfectionism kept you from even trying. But here's the good news. It's never too late to break the cycle. You can choose today to stop waiting for the perfect moment. You can start now with what you have, where you are. The first step doesn't have to be flawless. It just needs to be taken. Every journey starts with a single step, and that step doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be planned to perfection. It just needs to be made. And once you take that step, you can course correct along the way. Each step will build your confidence, your clarity, and your strength. Perfection is a moving target. It always keeps you running, always keeps you striving for something that's just out of reach. But progress? Progress is something you can see, feel, and measure every single day. Every small win, every imperfect move forward builds momentum. And before you know it, you've made more progress than you ever thought possible, all because you stopped waiting for perfection to show up. We wait for the perfect conditions, the perfect plan, the perfect execution, and in doing so, we miss out on opportunities that are right in front of us. Perfectionism tells us that we're not enough as we are. It tells us that we have to be perfect before we can move forward. But that's not the truth. The truth is that you are enough. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. The moment you let go of the need for perfection, you open yourself up to growth, to learning, and to real success. It's not about doing everything flawlessly. It's about showing up, doing the work, and being willing to fail along the way. Failure isn't something to fear. It's an essential part of success. Every successful person has failed, has made mistakes, has fallen short. But they kept going. They kept moving forward. And that's what you need to do too. Let go of the need for perfection and replace it with the power of progress. Start today, no matter how imperfectly. It's in the messy, imperfect action that you'll find your growth. It's in the mistakes, the setbacks, and the challenges that you'll learn how to become the person you were meant to be. The more you act, the more you progress, and the less you hesitate. Perfection is the excuse that keeps you from moving. Action is the solution that pushes you forward. So, what's stopping you from taking that first step? What's the excuse you've been holding on to that's keeping you from moving forward? Don't let perfectionism hold you back any longer. Let go of the need for everything to be perfect. Start where you are, with what you have, and take action. It's the imperfect steps that will lead you to where you want to be. The path isn't perfect, and neither are you. But that's the beauty of it. The more you embrace the imperfections, the more you embrace the journey, and the closer you get to the person you're meant to become. So, stop waiting. Take action. Progress, not perfection, is what will change your life. Cut the fear of judgment. We live in a world where judgment feels inescapable. Everywhere we go, we're bombarded with comparisons. Our looks, our choices, our work. Everything is constantly being measured against others. We feel the weight of others' opinions as if they're constantly hovering over us, dictating what's acceptable and what's not. And in this constant cycle of evaluation, we begin to shrink. The fear of judgment paralyzes us, keeping us stuck in a cycle of inaction, preventing us from taking the steps we know we need to take. It's like we're trapped in a prison of our own making, constantly worrying about what others will think. But here's the hard truth. The more you fear judgment, the less you live authentically. Think for a moment. When was the last time you hesitated, held yourself back, or second-guessed a decision because you were worried about what others might say or think? Maybe it was about expressing your true thoughts or pursuing a goal that felt right for you, but you feared that others would criticize, mock, or dismiss you. In those moments, you let the fear of judgment take control. It's a toxic cycle. You begin to play small, make decisions based on approval, and sacrifice your own desires for the comfort of fitting in. And yet, the more we allow judgment to dictate our actions, the more we lose touch with who we really are, with what we really want. We become a reflection of what we think others expect from us, rather than the person we're meant to be. But the reality is far less dramatic than we make it out to be. Most people are so wrapped up in their own lives that they don't have the time or energy to judge yours. The truth is, the vast majority of people aren't watching you as closely as you think. They're not analyzing your every move or scrutinizing your every decision. They're too busy dealing with their own struggles, their own fears, their own self-doubt. And yet, we let this fear of imagined judgment control us. We let it hold us back from the very things we know we need to do. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Why is that terrifying? Because it requires shedding the mask, the persona that we think will be accepted by others, and embracing who we truly are. The fear of judgment stems from the belief that if we show our true selves, we won't be accepted, won't be loved, won't be respected. But the truth is, it's the opposite. The more you try to be what others expect, the more you lose yourself. And that's where the real damage happens, when you stop living for yourself and start living for everyone else's approval. The moment you let go of the fear of judgment is the moment you begin to step into your authentic self. It's the moment you release the chains of societal expectation and start living your life on your own terms. But here's the thing, this isn't easy. Letting go of the fear of judgment requires courage. It requires vulnerability. It requires the willingness to face the discomfort of standing alone if necessary and saying, "This is who I am. This is what I stand for." And that's powerful. Because when you stop worrying about how others perceive you, you free yourself to live in a way that aligns with your deepest values and desires. When you cut the fear of judgment, you make room for true growth. You begin to rise without hesitation. You start making decisions that are in alignment with your true self, not what others expect from you. You no longer let the opinions of others determine your actions, your happiness, or your path forward. Instead, you take control of your life, and you live it authentically. This is the key to personal freedom. The more you fear judgment, the less you allow yourself to be free. The more you fear judgment, the more you lose the ability to follow your own compass. But the moment you cut that fear, you gain the power to move forward with purpose, clarity, and confidence. You might be thinking, but what about the people who matter? What if I disappoint them? It's normal to care about the people in your life. But here's the thing, the people who truly matter to you will love and respect you for who you are, not for who you pretend to be. And if someone can't respect your authenticity, then maybe they aren't meant to be in your life. That's a hard truth, but it's a necessary one. You cannot live your life for others. You cannot build your happiness on the approval of people who don't understand you. True connection comes from showing up as your real, unfiltered self, not from wearing a mask to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. Letting go of the fear of judgment also means letting go of perfectionism. Because let's be real, if you're constantly trying to be perfect in the eyes of others, you'll never be able to move forward. Perfection is a trap. It's a lie that keeps you stuck in a loop of never feeling good enough, never feeling like you're doing enough, never feeling like you're enough. The only way to break free from this cycle is to stop seeking validation from external sources and start seeking it from within. It's about accepting that you're not perfect, and that's perfectly fine. The imperfections, the flaws, the mistakes, they're all part of the journey. They're part of what makes you human, part of what makes you real, and that's what people truly connect with. Not the perfect version of yourself that you've created to please others, but the raw, real, and unpolished version that you show when you let go of the fear of judgment. Think about the people you admire the most. Are they flawless? Do they live their lives according to the opinions of others? No. The people who truly inspire us are the ones who have the courage to be themselves, unapologetically. They don't care about the judgment of others because they know who they are and what they stand for. They move through life with confidence because they've embraced their authenticity, and that's the kind of life you deserve to live too. In a world that constantly tells us to conform, to fit in, and to seek approval, it takes real strength to stand up and say, "I will not be defined by the opinions of others." But once you do, you unlock a level of freedom that most people never experience. The moment you stop fearing judgment is the moment you truly start living. You start living for yourself, not for others. You start making choices that align with your true values, not what you think will get you approval. And in that space of authenticity, you find true peace. So here's your challenge. Stop living in fear of what others think. Start living for yourself. Let go of the need to be perfect. Let go of the need to please everyone. And let go of the fear of judgment. When you do, you'll rise. You'll rise with confidence, clarity, and the freedom to be exactly who you are. And that's where the real power lies. The power to live authentically, unapologetically, and without hesitation. That's the life you were meant to live. It's time to embrace it. Cut the comfort that holds you back. Comfort feels good. It's something we all seek. It's that warm, familiar feeling that tells us we're safe, secure, and free from the stresses of the world. But here's the thing. Comfort is also the very thing that holds us back. We cling to it because it feels safe, but in doing so, we end up settling for less than what we're truly capable of. Comfort becomes a trap, a cage that keeps us locked in the same place, doing the same things year after year. The irony is that while comfort makes us feel safe, it's the discomfort that brings growth. You need to feel stretched, challenged, and yes, sometimes a little uncomfortable to evolve. Growth doesn't happen when you're resting in your comfort zone. It happens when you step outside of it. We all know this feeling, don't we? That little voice inside our heads that tells us, "It's okay to skip today. You've worked hard enough." Or, "Why push yourself further? You've already done more than enough." And in those moments, it's easy to fall back into the arms of comfort, to let that voice win. But in doing so, we miss out on the very thing that leads to progress. Discomfort. Whether it's waking up earlier to seize the day, pushing your body a little harder at the gym, or having that difficult conversation you've been avoiding, these are the moments that build strength. These are the moments that define your growth. Each time you embrace discomfort, you're stretching yourself, you're challenging your limits, and you're becoming the person you were always meant to be. Becoming who you truly are requires more than just dreaming about the person you want to be. It requires action, and that action will often be uncomfortable. It will push you to the edge of what you thought was possible. It will force you to confront the parts of yourself that want to stay small, safe, and comfortable. But if you're willing to lean into that discomfort, you'll find a strength you never knew you had. Comfort may feel good in the moment, but it doesn't build strength. Strength is built in those moments when you feel like giving up, but you keep going. It's in the struggle, the discomfort, and the push against your limits that true growth happens. Here's the truth. As long as you're relying on comfort, you'll remain where you are. You'll continue to repeat the same patterns, the same habits, and you'll keep settling for mediocrity. The key to moving forward is to cut that dependency on comfort. It's about making the conscious choice to do what's hard, to do what feels uncomfortable, because that's where the magic happens. When you push yourself, you create new opportunities for growth. you're no longer confined to the life you've been living. You start to break free from the limits you've placed on yourself and begin to reach for something more. It doesn't matter what area of your life you're focusing on, whether it's your health, your career, or your personal development. Growth requires discomfort. If you want to become stronger, you have to challenge your body. If you want to advance in your career, you have to step up and take risks. If you want to grow as a person, you have to push through your fears, confront your weaknesses, and make those uncomfortable decisions. It's not easy, but it's necessary. The good news is, once you start embracing discomfort, it gets easier. The more you do it, the more you realize that the discomfort isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace. It's a sign that you're on the right path, that you're pushing yourself to new heights. Let's be real, we all want to stay in our comfort zones. They're familiar, they're predictable, and they feel safe. But staying in your comfort zone doesn't lead to the life you want. It keeps you stuck in the same place, year after year. Think about your life a year ago. Did you make the progress you wanted to make? Did you grow in the ways you hoped you would? If not, it's likely because you stayed in the comfort zone. It's easy to look back and wish you had done things differently, but the truth is, you have the power to change. You have the power to step out of that comfort zone and into the discomfort that will lead to your growth. The choice is yours. It's time to stop using comfort as an excuse to avoid the things that will push you forward. It's time to stop making excuses about why you can't do something because it feels too hard or too uncomfortable. Instead, start embracing the discomfort. Start making the hard choices. When you do this, you'll begin to see progress like you've never seen before. It's not about perfection. It's about taking those small, uncomfortable steps every day and trusting that they will lead you to the life you want. Think about the person you want to become. What do they look like? What do they do? How do they live? Now think about what's stopping you from becoming that person. Is it fear? Is it the desire for comfort? Whatever it is, it's time to face it. It's time to break through the wall of comfort that's been holding you back. Once you do, you'll realize that the fear wasn't as big as you thought. The discomfort wasn't as unbearable as you imagined. In fact, it was the very thing that helped you grow. When you cut the dependence on comfort, you open the door to progress. You give yourself permission to rise above the ordinary and step into your full potential. Comfort will always be there, calling you back, tempting you to settle. But every time you resist, every time you step into the discomfort, you get closer to becoming who you were meant to be. It's in that space of discomfort where the magic happens. So don't shy away from it. Lean into it. Embrace it. And watch how your life transforms when you cut the comfort that holds you back. Cut the comparisons. Comparing yourself to others is one of the most toxic habits you can have. It's so easy to fall into the trap. We scroll through social media, watch other people's lives unfold, and suddenly we start measuring our own success against theirs. What they have, what they're doing, what they've accomplished, it begins to feel like a measuring stick for our own worth. But here's the painful truth. Comparing yourself to others takes you out of your own lane and puts you in someone else's race. And no matter how fast you run, no matter how hard you push, you'll never win a race that's not yours. When you compare yourself to someone else, you're constantly measuring your progress against a false benchmark. Their life, their journey, their timeline, they don't define yours. Their wins don't diminish yours. Their path isn't your path, and neither should it be. The truth is, when you're focused on where others are, you lose sight of where you're going. You forget to celebrate how far you've come because you're too busy wishing you had what someone else has. Think about it. How often do you feel frustrated, defeated, or demotivated after comparing yourself to others? Maybe it's a friend who seems to be ahead in their career, or a stranger online who appears to have everything you want. You tell yourself, "Why am I not there yet?" or "Why can't I achieve that?" But in that moment, you're ignoring the unique path you've been given. You're not measuring your progress based on your own goals, your own growth. Instead, you're measuring it based on someone else's timeline, and that's a game you'll never win. Everyone's path is different, shaped by their own experiences, challenges, and decisions. When you compare yourself to someone else, you're ignoring your own uniqueness. You're turning your attention away from the things that make you, you. And that's where the magic happens. The moment you embrace your own path, you begin to move forward in ways that feel authentic and true to you, not in ways that you think will bring you validation from others. Here's the thing. We live in a world that constantly encourages comparison. We're told to measure our success by how we stack up against our peers, how we compare to those who seem to have it all figured out. But the reality is, comparison only slows you down. It keeps you stuck in a loop of self-doubt, frustration, and unfulfilled desire. The more you focus on what others have, the less energy you have to put into creating what's uniquely yours. You're too busy worrying about what you're not doing or what you haven't achieved to focus on the incredible progress you've already made. When you cut the comparisons, you free yourself from the weight of other people's expectations. You stop holding yourself to someone else's standard and start living by your own. Every step forward is an achievement, and you'll be able to recognize it. Instead of constantly looking to others for validation, you begin to look inward. You start measuring your growth based on your own journey, your own effort, and your own success. This shift is liberating. No longer do you need to compete with anyone else. You begin to see that the only person you need to beat is the person you were yesterday. The only race that matters is the one you're running, the path you're walking. And when you focus on your own progress, you'll notice just how much further you've come. And what do we waste our time on? So much of it is spent comparing ourselves to others, looking at what they have, and wondering why we don't have it too. We waste precious moments of our lives measuring ourselves against the wrong standards. The more you compare, the more you waste the time you could be using to create your own path, to move toward your own goals, to achieve your own success. Cutting the comparisons means freeing yourself from the prison of external validation. It means stepping away from the false beliefs that you're somehow not enough because you don't have what someone else has. You are enough, just as you are, and the moment you realize that, the power is yours to claim. You stop looking outward for confirmation and start looking inward for truth. You stop trying to be someone else and begin embracing who you are meant to be. Instead of seeing others as benchmarks for your own success, start seeing them as sources of inspiration. Let their achievements motivate you, not make you feel less than. Let their successes remind you that growth is possible for anyone. They're not your competition. They're your reminder that anything is possible if you stay focused on your own journey. You've got a unique path that's yours alone. And it's only when you start focusing on your own path that you'll truly begin to move forward. So stop looking around at what everyone else is doing. Instead, look at where you're going. What are you doing today to move toward the person you want to be? What steps can you take, no matter how small, to get closer to your goals? The moment you stop comparing yourself to others is the moment you begin to find real freedom. You give yourself permission to be who you are without worrying about how others see you. You free yourself to make decisions that are right for you, not based on what you think will make you look good to others. And as you embrace your own unique journey, you'll find that the weight of comparison lifts and you begin to soar. It's time to stop looking over your shoulder. Your race is your own, and it's the only one that matters. Stop measuring your worth by someone else's standards. Stop defining your success by what others are doing, and start focusing on what's in front of you. The only measure of success that counts is the one you set for yourself. Embrace your own journey. Stop comparing. Start living. You are enough, and the only person you need to keep up with is the person you were yesterday. As long as you keep moving forward, that's all that matters. The rest is just noise. Cut the need for approval. How often do you find yourself seeking validation from others? How many times have you held back from taking a step because you were waiting for someone else's approval? We all do it to some extent, but it's a trap that holds us back from living authentically. This need for approval is like a leash that keeps you tethered to the expectations of others. You're constantly looking outside of yourself for confirmation, for someone to tell you it's okay to move forward. But the truth is, you don't need anyone's permission to live your life. From the moment you stop needing the approval of others, everything changes. Suddenly, you're free. Free to make decisions based on what you truly want, free to move toward the life you envision, and free to embrace your own path without the weight of others' opinions hanging over you. The truth is, the more you rely on others to approve of your choices, the more you give away your power. You start living for everyone else and not for yourself. Your decisions become based on what others think, not on what you truly desire or need. And in doing that, you lose sight of your own truth, your own authenticity. But how can you truly become who you are when you're constantly looking to others for approval? It's impossible. Every time you seek validation, you're allowing someone else to shape your identity. You're giving away the right to define yourself. This constant need for approval prevents you from embracing the fullness of who you are. It keeps you small, keeps you locked in a cycle of seeking external validation instead of finding strength and confidence within yourself. When you stop seeking approval, you free yourself to live according to your own values and desires. You start making choices that align with your true self, not the version of yourself that others expect or demand. The moment you stop seeking permission from the world, you start giving yourself permission to step into your power. You realize that your decisions, your actions, your life are yours to create. You don't need anyone's approval to follow your dreams or pursue what excites you. It's your life, and the only person who truly needs to approve of your choices is you. But here's the thing, breaking free from the need for approval doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, it takes courage, and it takes a willingness to face discomfort. It's uncomfortable at first because we've been conditioned to seek validation, to look for confirmation from others. But the more you practice standing firm in your choices, the easier it gets. You begin to realize that others' opinions, while they may be well-intentioned, have no power over your happiness, your goals, or your sense of self-worth. The moment you stop living for others' approval, you begin to make decisions based on what aligns with your true purpose. You stop seeking permission to go after what you want in life. You stop caring whether others approve of your choices, and you start focusing on the path that feels right for you. This shift is liberating. It's the key to stepping into your fullest potential. You begin to trust yourself more, to make bolder moves, and to go after the things you want with confidence. You become unstoppable because you no longer let the fear of judgment or rejection dictate your actions. Imagine how much more you could achieve if you stopped worrying about what others thought of you. How many opportunities have you missed because you were waiting for someone else to give you the green light? How many dreams have you put on hold because you were waiting for approval from someone who wasn't even on the same path as you? The truth is, waiting for approval is a waste of time. You already have everything you need inside of you. You already have the power to make decisions, to take action, and to shape your own destiny. Every moment spent waiting for someone else to give you permission to live your life is a moment stolen from the life you could be living. The moment you stop seeking approval is the moment you take your life back. You stop wasting time and start living on your own terms. This shift is powerful, but it's also deeply personal. It requires you to tune into your own desires, your own values, and to listen to your inner voice. For too long, we've been taught to seek external validation as a measure of our worth. But your worth is not determined by others. It's determined by the way you live your life, by the choices you make, and by the courage you have to live authentically. The first step to cutting the need for approval is recognizing that you are already enough. You don't need anyone else to tell you that you are worthy, that you are capable, or that you deserve success. You have everything you need within you. You just need to believe in yourself and trust your intuition. Every time you choose to follow your own path instead of someone else's expectations, you reinforce your self-worth. You start to live a life of integrity where your actions are aligned with your values, not with the need to please others. So, how do you start cutting the need for approval? It begins with small, intentional actions. Start by making decisions based on what you want, not what you think others expect. Stop seeking validation for every little thing. Trust your own judgment. You don't need anyone's permission to live your life fully. It's your life, your choices, and your journey. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. You begin to realize that the only approval you need is your own. Cutting the need for approval is liberating. It's the path to self-empowerment and freedom. You begin to step into your power, to trust your instincts, and to make bold choices without worrying about what others think. The moment you stop seeking validation is the moment you start living your life authentically. You stop letting the fear of judgment hold you back, and you start moving forward with confidence, clarity, and purpose. This is how you take control of your life. This is how you live on your own terms. So, the next time you find yourself hesitating because you're worried about what others might think, remember this: you don't need their approval. You have the strength, the wisdom, and the power within you to make your own decisions and follow your own path. Embrace the freedom that comes with letting go of the need for approval and watch how your life transforms. Your journey is yours alone, and it's time to take the first step without looking over your shoulder. Cut the toxic habits. We all have them. Those small, seemingly insignificant habits that we let slide because they don't appear to be doing much harm in the moment. A late-night snack here, a couple extra hours scrolling through social media there, a few too many days of skipping the gym, it all adds up. What seems harmless in the short term, when left unchecked, can quietly chip away at your energy, your focus, and your health. These habits, while easy to ignore, eventually create a deep erosion of your potential. And here's the hard truth. Those little habits that feel comfortable are the ones holding you back from becoming who you want to be. Think about the decisions you make every day. How many of them are based on immediate pleasure rather than long-term benefit? It's easy to fall into the trap of indulgence, staying up late because I'll just watch one more episode, or eating junk food because it's just this once. But those small choices compound over time. They steal your focus, they rob you of energy, and they add unnecessary stress to your body and mind. The truth is, these toxic habits are sabotaging your progress. They're not just harmless breaks, they're quiet distractions from your goals, your health, and your future. Cutting these habits isn't about being cruel to yourself or setting impossible standards. It's about understanding that your future self will thank you for making better choices now. It's about taking a step back and asking yourself, what do I want to be? Do I want to be the person who indulges in the moment, Or do I want to be the person who sacrifices for the future? The truth is, every time you choose the easier option, the quick gratification, you're setting your goals further out of reach. But when you make the tough choice, when you say no to the toxic habit in favor of something better, you take back control. You choose growth, not comfort. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." And that's exactly what it comes down to, choosing who you want to become. Every small habit you adopt is a reflection of your values, your goals, and your vision for your future. When you allow toxic habits to linger, you're passively choosing a life of stagnation. But when you actively decide to replace those habits with behaviors that align with your goals, you're making a powerful statement to yourself about who you want to be. You're choosing growth over comfort, progress over stagnation, and health over indulgence. The key to cutting these toxic habits lies in understanding that you're not depriving yourself, you're upgrading yourself. The moment you realize that small, seemingly harmless habits are actually holding you back, you can begin to shift your focus. It's not about being harsh or punishing yourself. It's about recognizing that you have the power to make better choices, choices that support the version of yourself you want to be. Replace that late-night screen time with a good book. Replace the junk food with something that nourishes your body, and replace the procrastination with action that moves you closer to your goals. In fact, replacing toxic habits doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't require you to make massive, overwhelming changes overnight. The key is starting small, with one habit at a time. If you try to cut everything out at once, you risk burning out and falling back into old patterns. Instead, take it step by step. Start by cutting out one small habit and replacing it with something that serves you. Maybe it's going to bed earlier so you can wake up with more energy, or maybe it's eliminating one junk food snack and replacing it with something healthier. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be progress. Often, the idea of changing habits feels overwhelming because we imagine the difficulty of it. We think we'll never be able to stick to the new routine, or that the cravings and urges will be too strong. But in reality, the more you practice replacing toxic habits with positive ones, the easier it gets. In the beginning, it might feel like a challenge, but with consistency and commitment, it becomes second nature. The discomfort of change soon fades into the satisfaction of living a life aligned with your values. The real struggle isn't in making the changes, it's in the mindset shift. You have to believe that cutting these toxic habits is worth the effort. You have to embrace the idea that your future self is worth the sacrifice you're making today. Every time you say no to a toxic habit, you're saying yes to a better version of yourself. Every small decision you make in favor of your goals strengthens your discipline and builds your resilience. It's a process, a journey, but one that leads to a more fulfilled, more successful life. In the end, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. It's about choosing to take control of your habits, your health, and your future. Small changes made consistently over time lead to massive transformations. So, the next time you feel the pull of a toxic habit, whether it's checking your phone late at night, eating something that doesn't serve you, or procrastinating on something important, remember that you have the power to choose. Choose growth, choose strength, choose progress. You are what you do, not what you've done. And what you do today will shape who you are tomorrow. So, it's time to cut the toxic habits. Start small, start now, and watch as your life begins to transform. Cut the need for instant gratification. Instant gratification is like a drug. It gives you a quick high, a fleeting sense of pleasure, but it's empty. The moment you indulge in that quick fix, whether it's scrolling through social media, overeating, or buying something you don't need, You're giving in to an impulse that provides temporary relief. But the satisfaction it offers fades just as quickly as it comes. And every time you seek that instant fix, you're training your mind to crave relief rather than the long-term rewards that come from hard work and persistence. This constant cycle of instant gratification keeps you trapped, stuck in the moment, unable to move forward toward the goals that matter. The truth is, real success, the kind that's meaningful and lasting, requires delayed gratification. When you seek instant pleasure, you're choosing the easier path, the path that offers a temporary boost, but not true fulfillment. The path that offers relief in the moment, but not the lasting satisfaction that comes with achievement. Every time you give in to that impulse, you're taking a step back from the long-term goals that would truly bring you fulfillment. The satisfaction that comes from hard work, effort, and persistence isn't instant. It's earned. Success doesn't come from finding shortcuts or quick fixes. It comes from making choices that build momentum over time, from pushing through the discomfort, from staying committed to the process. This doesn't mean that you can't enjoy life or that you should deprive yourself of pleasure altogether, but it does mean that you need to recognize the difference between real fulfillment and fleeting satisfaction. Every time you take the easy way out, every time you seek the quick fix, you're stepping away from what's truly meaningful. But when you learn to delay gratification, when you choose to invest in something that will give you real, lasting rewards, you're choosing progress. You're choosing to put in the work, to face the discomfort, to stay focused on the long-term picture. It's not easy, but it's the only way to create real change in your life. The person you're meant to become is forged through the decisions you make in the face of discomfort, not through the moments of instant pleasure you indulge in. It's the act of resisting the urge for quick relief that builds your character, that shapes your future self. The person who chooses long-term success over short-term pleasure is the person who becomes stronger, more disciplined, and more focused. Instant gratification may feel good in the moment, but it doesn't build the life you want. Delayed gratification does. When you stop seeking instant gratification, you open up a whole new world of possibility. You stop living in reaction to every impulse. You stop chasing temporary highs that only leave you feeling empty. Instead, you focus on the long game, on the effort and persistence it takes to create something that truly matters. You begin to realize that the work itself, the effort, the process, is where the real satisfaction lies. It's not the outcome that defines you. It's the journey, and the journey requires patience, discipline, and above all, the ability to delay gratification. Think about the things in your life that have brought you true fulfillment. Were they the result of quick fixes, or were they the result of sustained effort and perseverance? The things that matter most, building a career, creating meaningful relationships, achieving personal growth, don't happen overnight. They happen when you make the choice to put in the work, even when it's hard, even when the rewards aren't immediate. These are the moments that shape your future self. They are the moments that give your life meaning. The temptation of instant gratification will always be there, lurking in the background. It's easy to give in. It's easy to fall back into old habits, to seek out that quick high when you're feeling stressed, bored, or overwhelmed. But every time you give in, you're reinforcing a cycle of short-term relief that never leads to true satisfaction. The more you give in, the harder it becomes to break the cycle. But the moment you choose to resist, the moment you choose to stay committed to the work, is the moment everything begins to change. It's in those moments that you build the character that will carry you forward. The reality is that the hard work you're avoiding, the discomfort you're resisting, it's not as bad as you think. The fear of doing the work, the fear of stepping away from instant pleasure, is often far worse than the reality. Once you begin to embrace delayed gratification, you realize that the effort, the persistence, and the discipline are the things that truly lead to fulfillment. You begin to find satisfaction in the process, not in the end result. And that's where real success is born. The more you practice delayed gratification, the easier it becomes. It starts with small steps. Maybe it's saying no to a snack you don't really need, or resisting the urge to check your phone for a distraction. Maybe it's dedicating time each day to work toward a goal, even when it feels like progress is slow. Each time you make the choice to delay gratification, you're building momentum, and over time, that momentum turns into real progress. You begin to see the results of your effort. You begin to feel the rewards that come from hard work, and they're so much more satisfying than the fleeting pleasure of instant gratification. You're in control of your choices. Every decision you make is a step toward who you want to become. So, the next time you're faced with the choice between a quick fix and long-term progress, remember this: the quick fix doesn't last. It never will. But the work, the persistence, the effort, that's what brings lasting satisfaction. Choose the long game. Choose delayed gratification. Choose progress over pleasure, because when you do, you unlock your true potential. And that's where the real magic happens. Cut the negative self-talk. We're often our own worst critics, aren't we? We have that voice in our heads constantly whispering doubts, reminding us of our flaws and telling us we're not good enough. It says things like, "You'll never make it," "You're failing," "What's the point?" It's relentless. And while it might seem harmless at first, this negative self-talk can be far more damaging than we realize. Over time, it shapes our reality. We start to believe what we tell ourselves. We start to internalize those voices, and they begin to dictate how we see ourselves and how we navigate the world. The problem is that this narrative we've created for ourselves is a lie that tells us we're incapable, that we're stuck, that we'll never be good enough. Here's the thing: negative self-talk isn't just an occasional thought. It's a pattern, and like any pattern, it can become a habit. Every time we allow these thoughts to take hold, we reinforce them. We give them power. And the more we let them play out, the more they shape our identity. Soon enough, we find ourselves living from a place of self-doubt, constantly second-guessing our decisions and questioning our worth. But this is where we have a choice. We don't have to accept that narrative. We can choose to rewrite it. You are not defined by the negative things you've been telling yourself. You are not your mistakes, your shortcomings, or your fears. You are what you choose to become. And the moment you decide to stop listening to that inner critic, you begin to free yourself from the grip of negative self-talk. You start to reclaim your power and your potential. But breaking free from negative self-talk isn't easy. It takes awareness. It takes practice. It takes the courage to challenge the stories you've been telling yourself. Every time that voice creeps in, every time it whispers doubt, you have the power to say no. You have the power to replace those thoughts with the truth. The truth is, you are capable. You are enough. You are already on the right path, even if it doesn't always feel that way. Your worth isn't determined by perfection or achievement. It's inherent in who you are. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to prove it to anyone, including yourself. The challenge lies in shifting that internal dialogue. It's easy to get caught in the spiral of self-criticism. It feels almost automatic, doesn't it? When something goes wrong, our first instinct is often to blame ourselves. We point fingers inward, telling ourselves we're not good enough, that we should have done better. But that's not the truth. The truth is that failure is not a reflection of who we are. It's an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to improve. Every mistake is a lesson. Every setback is a chance to get stronger. When you stop viewing yourself through the lens of failure and instead start seeing every experience as part of your growth, you begin to break free from the cycle of negative self-talk. You might be thinking, but how do I stop? The first step is to recognize it. You have to catch yourself in the act. Every time that negative voice speaks, pause, acknowledge it, but don't let it dictate your next move. Just because a thought enters your mind doesn't mean you have to entertain it. You can choose to let it go. You can choose to replace it with something that aligns with the truth of who you are. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. You begin to shift your thinking from "I can't" to "I will," from "I'm not enough" to "I am more than capable." This shift doesn't happen overnight, but with patience and persistence, it becomes the new narrative. Think about that for a moment. So much of our pain, so much of our suffering comes from the stories we tell ourselves. We create scenarios in our minds about what might happen, about what we fear, about what we think others think of us. But most of it is imagined. The reality is often far less threatening, and the more we buy into these imagined fears, the more power we give to negative self-talk. When you begin to recognize that much of what you fear is not reality, but simply a story you've created, you can start to let go of that narrative. You can start to replace it with something more empowering. The truth is that negative self-talk doesn't serve you. It doesn't make you better, it doesn't help you grow, and it doesn't bring you closer to your goals. It only holds you back. Every time you let that voice win, you reinforce the belief that you're not capable, that you're not good enough. But when you challenge that voice, when you replace it with the truth, you begin to move forward with more confidence, more clarity, and more strength. You start living from a place of self-compassion rather than self-criticism. The next time you catch yourself in the cycle of negative self-talk, take a step back. Ask yourself, is this true? Is this the story I want to tell myself? And if the answer is no, replace it. Replace it with a statement of truth, of possibility, of hope. Remind yourself that you are capable of achieving your dreams, that you are worthy of success, and that you have everything you need to move forward. The key to cutting negative self-talk is not in silencing the critic, it's in changing the conversation. It's in recognizing that you are the one who controls your narrative. You get to decide what you believe about yourself. You get to choose the story you tell. And the more you choose to focus on your strengths, your potential, and your growth, the less room there is for negativity to take root. The more you choose self-compassion over self-criticism, the more empowered you become. Remember, you are not your mistakes. You are not your failures. You are not defined by the doubts that run through your mind. You are defined by the choices you make, the actions you take, and the courage you show every single day. When you cut the negative self-talk, you unlock your true potential. You allow yourself to step into your power and live the life you deserve. You are capable, you are enough, and you are on the right path. Keep going. Cut the fear of failure. Failure. It's a word that carries so much weight, isn't it? For most of us, it feels like the end, the final verdict, the point where all of our hard work, all of our hopes, come crashing down. But what if I told you that failure isn't the end? What if I told you that failure is simply a step along the way, that it's not something to fear, but something to embrace? The truth is, failure is not a barrier. It's a guide. It's a tool that shows us where we need to grow, where we need to adjust, and where we can improve. It's the process of trial and error that ultimately leads us to success. The fear of failure, however, keeps us stuck. It paralyzes us. It convinces us that we're not good enough, that our efforts are doomed from the start. It tells us that if we fail, we are somehow less worthy, less capable. But the truth is, fear of failure is the thing that holds us back. What if we could shift our perspective on failure? What if we could see it not as something to avoid, but as something to learn from? When we fear failure, we avoid taking risks, stepping outside of our comfort zones and pursuing our dreams. We stay safe, but we also stay stuck. In the end, avoiding failure only leads to a life of regret and unrealized potential. It's in trying, in stepping forward despite the fear, that we grow. Every failure is an opportunity to learn, to improve, to recalibrate. It tells us what doesn't work, so we can try something new, something better. But when we let the fear of failure take over, we never get the chance to try. We stay in the same place, doing the same thing, wondering why nothing ever changes. This is the essence of failure. It is not about being defined by the setback, by the mistake, by the disappointment. It's about choosing to rise above it. It's about choosing to become something greater, despite what has happened. Every time you fail and get back up, you become stronger. Every time you try again, you choose progress over perfection, action over hesitation. That's where growth happens, not in the absence of failure, but in the willingness to keep going, despite it. It's important to remember that failure is not a reflection of who you are. It's simply a part of the journey. Everyone who has ever achieved anything meaningful has failed at some point. The most successful people in history, whether in business, sports, or any other field, have all experienced failure. What sets them apart is not that they never failed, but that they never let failure define them. They understood that failure wasn't a reflection of their worth, but a natural part of the process of achieving greatness. They learned from their mistakes, adjusted their approach, and kept moving forward. That's the key. The only true failure is the one that keeps you from moving forward. Failure is feedback. It's not the end of the road, but rather a signpost along the way, pointing you in the right direction. It tells you what's not working, so you can change your approach and try again. If you let failure stop you, you miss out on the lessons it offers. You miss out on the chance to refine your skills, improve your strategy, and get closer to your goals. But when you embrace failure, when you understand that it's not a reflection of your abilities, but a stepping stone to success, you become unstoppable. The more you fail, the more you learn, and the more you learn, the closer you get to achieving what you set out to do. But how do we cut the fear of failure? It starts with recognizing that fear is natural. It's part of being human, but it doesn't have to control us. The key is to reframe the way we see failure. Instead of seeing it as something to fear, we need to see it as an essential part of success. Every time you fail, you are one step closer to getting it right. You are one step closer to mastering your craft. And that's how success happens, not by avoiding failure, but by using it as a tool to get better. You don't need to fear failure. You need to fear the inaction that comes from letting failure stop you. The only way to succeed is to keep trying, to keep moving, and to keep learning. This doesn't mean that failure doesn't hurt. It does. It can be discouraging, demoralizing, and frustrating. But it's also necessary. It's a reminder that you're on the right path, that you're pushing yourself, that you're trying something new. And with each failure, you become more resilient, more resourceful, and more capable of overcoming whatever challenges come your way. The fear of failure is a weight that holds you down. It keeps you stuck in the past, in the realm of what might have been. But when you let go of that fear, when you embrace failure as part of the process, you free yourself to move forward, to try again, to grow. So many of us waste our time being afraid of failure, avoiding it at all costs. But in doing so, we miss out on the opportunities to learn, to grow, and to succeed. Fear of failure doesn't protect us. It keeps us from living fully. The truth is, failure is not something to fear. It's something to embrace. It's something to learn from. It's a necessary part of the process. And when you stop fearing it, you open the door to real progress, real achievement, and real success. Cutting the fear of failure isn't about ignoring the fear or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about choosing to move forward in spite of it. It's about choosing to take action, to keep going, even when you don't know how it will turn out. It's about trusting that every failure brings you one step closer to success. And when you stop letting failure stop you, you unlock a level of growth and achievement that you never thought possible. The truth is, we all fail, but we all also have the power to rise above it. We have the power to learn, to grow, and to keep moving forward. So the next time you face failure, remember that it's not the end. It's a lesson, it's feedback, and it's part of the journey. Don't fear it. Embrace it. Use it to propel yourself forward, to keep going and to keep growing. Because the only true failure is the one that keeps you from moving forward. Cut the someday mentality. How many times have you told yourself, someday I'll start, or someday I'll change? We all have that voice, right? It's the one that convinces us that there's some perfect moment in the future when everything will align, when we'll feel ready to make that change. But here's the harsh truth. Someday never comes. It's nothing more than a hopeful excuse, a mirage that keeps us stuck where we are, waiting for the right time. We wait for the stars to align, for the conditions to be just right. We tell ourselves we'll do it tomorrow, next week, next month, but tomorrow never arrives. Someday becomes a trap, one that prevents us from taking action, from moving forward, from making progress. But here's the secret. Perfection isn't the goal. Progress is. If you keep waiting for everything to be perfect before you take the first step, you'll never move. Perfection is an illusion. Life doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It's messy, unpredictable, and often chaotic. The truth is, if you keep putting things off until everything feels right, you'll find yourself stuck in a cycle of hesitation. You'll keep waiting, and the opportunities will keep passing you by. The key to change is to start now, even when you don't have all the answers, even when you don't feel fully ready. Starting messy, starting unsure. Those are the moments that propel you forward. Perfection is not required, action is. But who you truly are isn't defined by the ideal version of yourself that exists in some distant future. It's the version of you who takes action now, who decides today that someday is no longer a valid excuse. It's the version of you who moves despite fear, despite uncertainty, despite not having all the details figured out. The someday mentality holds you hostage, convincing you that there's a better time to change than the present moment. But the only time that matters is now. The only moment you truly control is the one in front of you. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions to fall into place and start creating them yourself. Action, even imperfect action, is what makes the difference. When you cut the someday mentality, you break free from the illusion that everything needs to be perfect. It's in the messy first steps that we begin to build momentum. When you start before you're ready, when you take that first action despite your doubts, you begin to rewrite the story of your life. The key to success isn't waiting for the right time. It's starting before you feel fully prepared. It's showing up even when you don't have it all figured out. That's where growth happens. Each step you take, no matter how small or uncertain, brings you closer to where you want to be. It's not about waiting for the stars to align. It's about creating your own stars, one decision at a time. The thing is, waiting for someday is often just a way to avoid discomfort. We're afraid to take the first step because it feels risky, because it feels uncertain, because it might not turn out perfectly. But you know what? Perfection isn't the goal. Learning, growing, and becoming better, those are the things that matter. When you make the choice to stop waiting for the perfect moment, you open yourself up to the process of becoming. The journey is what shapes you, not the destination. Perfection is overrated, but progress is inevitable when you keep taking steps, no matter how small. Every time you delay, every time you convince yourself to wait for a better moment, you waste precious time. Time doesn't wait for you. It moves on whether you're ready or not. Every moment spent waiting for someday is a moment lost. But the beauty of now is that it's always available. The moment you stop waiting, the moment you decide to act, you start taking control of your life. You begin to shape your future with the choices you make today, not with the promises you make to yourself for some distant day. Starting messy is powerful because it acknowledges the reality that no one ever gets everything perfect from the start. The most successful people didn't wait for the perfect moment. They just started. They failed, they stumbled, they learned, and they grew. But they were moving, they were progressing. The only true failure is the one that comes from inaction. Someday doesn't exist. There is only today. There is only now. And if you keep waiting for some magical moment when everything aligns, you'll miss the opportunity to change, to evolve, and to grow. When you choose to start, even when things feel uncertain, you give yourself permission to fail. And that's where the growth happens. When you give up the need for everything to be perfect, you free yourself from the pressure of unrealistic expectations. You allow yourself the freedom to make mistakes, to learn from them, and to keep moving forward. That's how change happens, not by waiting for the perfect moment, but by stepping into the mess, the uncertainty, and the discomfort of the process. In fact, it's often in the mess that the magic happens. It's in the imperfect steps that we find the courage, the strength, and the growth that we were waiting for. So, stop waiting for someday. Start today. Start now. The conditions will never be perfect, and that's okay. What matters is that you take the first step, however imperfect, however unsure. That first step is the key to unlocking everything you've been waiting for. It's in the decision to stop waiting that you begin to shape your future. You have everything you need to start right now. There is no better time than today. The only thing standing between you and the life you want is your decision to stop waiting and start doing. Every small action you take today brings you closer to where you want to be tomorrow. So, start messy, start unsure, start now. Because waiting for someday only keeps you stuck, and you deserve more than that. Cut the resistance to change. Change. It's something we all experience, yet we often resist it with everything we have. We try to hold on to what's familiar, what's comfortable, even when we know deep down that change is the very thing we need. Why is that? Why do we fight something that's as inevitable as the passing of time? It's because change challenges us. It asks us to let go of the past, to step into the unknown, to become someone different, and that's scary. But here's the truth. The more we resist change, the harder it becomes. The longer we hold on, the more it weighs us down. Change is the force that pushes us to grow, to evolve, to become who we're truly meant to be. But if we keep fighting it, we only delay the process. We create more suffering, more frustration, and more stagnation. The key is to stop resisting and start flowing with it. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't see change as something to fight against. They saw it as part of life's natural rhythm. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly suit your needs." This quote reminds us that change is not an enemy. It's a part of the pattern of our lives. It's the force that shapes us, that pushes us forward, that forces us to step into our higher selves. The more we try to resist it, the more we fight against the current, the more we exhaust ourselves. The Stoic way is to embrace change, to flow with it, to accept it as a necessary part of growth. When you stop resisting change, you stop holding yourself back. You stop clinging to outdated beliefs, outdated habits, and outdated ways of thinking. You open yourself up to new possibilities, new opportunities, and new ways of being. But this doesn't mean change is easy. It's often uncomfortable, even painful. It forces us to confront things we'd rather avoid, to let go of the familiar, and to take risks. It's tempting to resist, to stay where it's safe. But safety doesn't lead to growth. Comfort doesn't lead to transformation. In fact, comfort often keeps us stuck in patterns that no longer serve us. The truth is, change is the only way forward. It's the only way to evolve, to grow, and to become the person you were always meant to be. The more you resist it, the more you delay your own progress. And in doing so, you miss out on the opportunity to become the best version of yourself. Change is not something that happens to us. It's something we create. When we embrace it, when we stop fighting against it, we open up the space to create the life we want. The Stoics didn't wait for change to come to them. They actively shaped it. They understood that to live a fulfilled life, they had to adapt to the circumstances around them. They didn't see themselves as victims of their situation. They saw themselves as agents of change, and that's the key. When you stop resisting change, you become the creator of your own life. You take ownership of your story, and you decide who you want to become. But how do you begin to cut the resistance to change? It starts with acceptance. Accept that change is inevitable. Accept that it will be uncomfortable at times, but also that it will push you to grow. Instead of trying to control everything, allow yourself to flow with life. Allow yourself to adapt. Stop holding on to the past. Stop trying to preserve the way things were, and start embracing the possibility of what could be. Change doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be something you dread. It's simply a natural part of life, a force that's here to guide you, to help you evolve into the person you're meant to be. When you stop resisting change, you stop living in fear. Fear is often the root of our resistance. We fear the unknown, we fear failure, we fear the loss of control. But the truth is, fear only holds us back. Fear keeps us in the past, keeps us stuck in old patterns. It's in embracing change that we free ourselves from the grip of fear. When you choose to adapt, when you choose to flow with life, you choose freedom, you choose growth, and you choose to become the person you were always meant to be. It's also important to recognize that change doesn't always happen overnight. It's a gradual process. It requires patience and persistence. But with every small step you take toward embracing change, you become stronger. You become more resilient. You begin to see change not as something to be feared, but as something to be celebrated. Change is the gateway to new opportunities, new experiences, and new possibilities. The more you allow yourself to change, the more you grow. The more you grow, the more you become the person you're meant to be. The Stoic philosophy teaches us that we can't control everything in life. We can't control the circumstances we're born into, the people we meet, or the challenges we face. But we can control how we respond to those circumstances. We can control how we adapt. We can control how we embrace change. And that's where our power lies. By letting go of our resistance to change, we tap into that power. We stop being passive observers of our lives and become active participants in creating the future we want. The more you embrace change, the more you become the person you've always wanted to be. When you let go of your resistance, you step into your true power. You stop waiting for things to be perfect, for for the right moment to arrive, and you start taking action. You start moving forward. You start evolving. Change is not your enemy, it's your ally. It's the key to unlocking your full potential. When you stop resisting change, you begin to flow with life. You begin to adapt, to evolve, and to grow. You become the person you were always meant to be. And that person is powerful, resilient, and unstoppable. So, stop resisting. Embrace the change that is coming. Let go of the past and step into the future. The only way forward is through change, and the only way to grow is to embrace it. Change is not something to fear, it's the door to who you are meant to become. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Move now, even if it feels uncertain. Every step you take shapes a stronger version of you. Also, watch one of the videos on the screen and keep building. Thank you for being part of Stoic Journal.